Today's case takes us to Atlanta, Georgia. Home of the Braves, the Hawks, the Dream, and the Falcons, Atlanta is a vibrant city of diversity and culture. Oakland Cemetery, less than 1 mile from downtown, is Atlanta's oldest park. It is filled with history and over 70,000 people. Many of the city's most notable citizens, including Margaret Mitchell, Maynard Jackson, and Kenny Rogers, are buried in the cemetery. Atlanta played a pivotal role in the civil rights movement. It was the birthplace and home of Martin Luther King Jr. Atlanta has incredible museums, colleges, and historic sites. It is home to Morehouse and Spelman Colleges. The King Center and the Martin Luther King Jr. National Historical Park are downtown on Auburn Avenue. And for locals, a chili dog at the Varsity is still a treat today. But on March 10, 2005, the focus was going to be on the Fulton County Courthouse and the horrors that would soon unfold. That day, an inmate was on trial for assaulting his ex-girlfriend. It was the second trial. The first had ended in a hung jury. The 6'4", 250-pound inmate attacked Deputy Cynthia Hall, who had been escorting him to court. She had grown somewhat fond of the inmate during his trials. But when she removed his cuffs, he overpowered her and beat her severely. This attack is caught on surveillance. The inmate takes her key to the lockbox where her gun was stored. He took the gun, her radio, and changed into his civilian clothes. He then made his way across a sky bridge to the Fulton County Courthouse. The inmate did not run away. He walked calmly through the courthouse corridors. He had started towards the judge's chambers when he saw Bailiff Grantley White in the hall. Bailiff White had just left courtroom 8H and was headed to the cafeteria when he encountered the inmate, who he recognized from court. At gunpoint, Bailiff White was led to the judge's chambers where the inmate demanded to see the judge. There were 3 employees in the judge's chamber. The inmate instructed Bailiff White to handcuff them, and once the others were restrained, the inmate threw a set of handcuffs at him to use on himself. Bailiff White recognized the bloody handcuffs as belonging to Deputy Hall. He knew there was a distress button under Judge Barnes's desk, and before he restrained himself, he faked a heart attack, and as he fell, he pushed the alarm. Central Control radioed asking if everything was okay, and the inmate responded all was well. Central Control knew the voice of Bailiff White and knew he wasn't the one responding. The inmate then made his way to the courtroom. When he entered, he found Fulton County Superior Court Judge Roland Barnes and shot him dead. He then turned the gun on court reporter Julianne Brandow, shooting her as she reached towards Judge Barnes. He then left the courtroom and met his third victim that day, Sergeant Hoyt Teasley, who ran to help his fellow officers without even taking the time to put his bulletproof vest on. He just knew people needed his help, so he went. The inmate shot Sergeant Teasley on the sidewalk of Martin Luther King Jr. Drive and then jumps into a dark SUV. This would, of course, initiate a manhunt. That inmate was Brian Gene Nichols, a 33-year-old father of 2 who was in jail and on his way to court for assaulting his former girlfriend and the mother of one of his children. He was unaccounted for 26 hours. As the families were being notified of the death of their loved ones, the entire metro Atlanta area was on alert. Judge Roland Wayne Barnes, born April 25, 1940, was known for his personable approach to justice and his sense of humor. Married to Claudia, who worked for another judge as a judicial assistant, she was in the courthouse when he was killed that day. He was survived by his wife, 2 daughters, and 4 stepchildren. Julianne Brandow was a 45-year-old court reporter. She was also a sister, a mother, a daughter, and an aunt. She was fondly remembered by all as a giving and kind person. She made everyone feel special, and she will be missed by so many, including her daughter and pets. At her funeral, donations to the Humane Society were requested in lieu of flowers. Sergeant Hoyt Keith Teasley had been a deputy with Fulton County Sheriff's Department for 18 years. He was 43 years old. He was a husband and a father, and he will be missed. He was survived by his wife and 2 children. Hundreds of uniformed law enforcement officers traveling from Minnesota and New York will gather to honor and remember him. As Atlanta police and surrounding agencies frantically started searching for him, Nichols was making his way out of the city. He drove about 3 blocks in the dark SUV before crashing into a parking deck where he stole a tow truck at gunpoint from Deontay Franklin. He drove it 6 blocks and then abandoned it. Then he walked into a parking deck on Cone Street and stole a 2004 Mercury Sable from an Atlanta Journal and Constitution employee, Almeida Kilgo. He then drove to the Centennial parking deck where he encountered another Atlanta Journal and Constitution employee, reporter Don O'Brien, who he pistol whipped because he refused to get in the trunk before stealing his car. He only drove up 1 level before putting on O'Brien's jacket and walking out of the parking deck. He made it 2 blocks away to 5 Points MARTA station. He got on the northbound train to Lenox Station, where he walked out and disappeared. He was next seen in the 3200 block of apartments on Lenox Road, where he attempted to rob a woman. He tried to push her into the apartment, but was surprised by her boyfriend, who fought him off before he ran away. On foot, he crossed Lenox Road and ended up on Cantor Road, where he made contact with David Wilhelm, who was found shot to death in his unfinished house in North Atlanta. David Wilhelm was 40 years old and the second in command of the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Office. He had been an agent for 18 years. He was married to Candy, and he had been finishing their forever home when Nichols entered his life. David's blue truck, his pistol, and his badge were all missing. The manhunt continues into Sunday morning. It's March 12th, 2:30 a.m., about 30 miles north of Atlanta in Gwinnett County. Ashley Smith was just returning home from the convenience store with cigarettes. She had just stepped onto the doorstep when Brian Nichols put a gun to her head and forced his way into her apartment. Ashley was a young, widowed mother with a drug problem. She had lost her husband to a car wreck, and her daughter was being raised by her aunt. She was now being held hostage by the one man everyone in Atlanta was looking for. Throughout the night, Ashley said she spoke to Nichols and treated him kindly. She talked about her daughter, telling him about a visitation the next day at 10 a.m. she had scheduled to see her. Nichols also had children, and he told Ashley about his kids too. But he told her repeatedly she wouldn't be making the visitation appointment that day. As time passed, she read the Bible to him. She also read self-help books to him out loud. He asked if she had any marijuana, but she did not. She told Nichols the only drug she had was meth. She told him where it was, and when he asked her to do the drug with him, Ashley declined, telling Nichols if she was going to die, she wouldn't die with meth in her system. Nichols did not pressure her, but he did do the meth himself. They talked about anything and everything, including the mirror she needed to hang in the hallway. Around 9 a.m., Nichols asked Ashley when she would need to leave to make the visitation with her daughter, and Ashley said to get there on time, she would need to leave now. So we let her go. After 7 hours as a hostage, Ashley Smith was free. She left and immediately called 911. She told police that Brian Nichols, who everyone was looking for, was in her apartment. Ashley said it took a while to convince the police Nichols was actually in her apartment. She had to show them David Wilhelm's truck that Nichols had driven to her house. Once they believed her, a SWAT team converged on her apartment. He surrendered roughly half an hour later at 11:24 a.m., waving a white flag out a window. Ashley credits her deep faith for surviving the hostage situation, but credits the incident with saving her life, stating she would have overdosed in a year if she hadn't changed her life that day. Ashley Smith never touched another illegal drug. She got clean and she got her daughter back. She wrote a book in 2005 titled Unlikely Angel, The Untold Story of the Atlanta Hostage Hero. That book was made into a movie in 2015. It was called Captive, The Untold Story of the Atlanta Hostage Hero. Ashley Smith made a life for herself and her family. She is now an inspirational speaker. Brian Nichols was charged with 54 crimes during his escape: murder, felony murder, kidnapping, armed robbery, aggravated assault, aggravated battery, theft, carjacking, and escape. His trial would be held in the same courthouse as his earlier rampage. The judge did require security to be greatly increased. He was found guilty on all counts on November 7, 2008, and was sentenced to life in prison. He escaped the death penalty because one juror held out. She did not believe in the death penalty. Nichols remains in Georgia Diagnostic and Classification State Prison in Jackson, Georgia, which holds Georgia's most violent criminals, and due to his history of escape, he spends most of his time in solitary. The families of Judge Barnes and Julie Brandow both sued the county and won. Changes in security procedures were put in place after this occurred. This was one of Georgia's worst killing sprees and one of its most expensive trials. That day left a stain on the city that will be remembered forever. If you've made it this far, thank you. And if you've enjoyed our content, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel. We will be uploading once a month and will be focusing on solved true crime cases. We hope you join us for our next video. And also, if you have any case suggestions, please leave them in the comments below. We look forward to hearing from you. Bye.